Welcome to the social-engineer.org podcast number 119. That's 119 months of podcasting, if you can believe that. And this is not just any ordinary podcast for me. I am super excited about this month because this month we're changing things up again. This month I'm focused on the SE Village 2020 Orlando conference. So there's a lot of great things that are about to happen for us here. My guest is none other than Stephanie Paul, one of our workshop conductors that's coming in to do an amazing workshop all on communications. She's an amazing guest. You're just going to love her. But not only do we have her on this month to talk about her career, all the things that she's done as an actress, an improv, a comedian, and her workshop that she's conducting in SE Village. But from now until the conference in February of 2020, every month we're going to have one of our workshop conductors on at the end of every show to talk about their particular workshop. Just think of it as a little teaser to whet your appetite about what you're going to learn if you get to come to SE Village in 2020 here in February. So let's not waste any more time. Let's get right into this episode and let's get Stephanie on the show. We are back with Stephanie. Stephanie, it's great to have you on the show. How are you doing today?
I'm very well. Thank you for having me.
So, first of all, let's talk about you as a person, because I have a long list of things here. Actress, comedian, producer. Just, I don't know, lay it out there. Tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do.
Okay. I'll try and keep it as succinct as possible. I have been in the entertainment industry for 29 years, so 3 decades. And
So you started when you were 2.
Yes, I'm a lot older than I look.
Yeah.
It's all that plastic surgery. No, I haven't had any plastic surgery. I'm just sorry. Just because you're in the entertainment industry doesn't mean you've had work done. So I started out as an actress, shooting commercials, and I moved into television and film, and then I did stand-up comedy for 10 years, and I studied improv for 12 years, and I've worked in 8 countries around the world. But when I was at school, one of my teachers sort of said, and we were doing a management program, said that, if you want to be a good manager, you need to learn everybody's jobs. So what I did in the film industry was I did everybody's jobs except for sound. So I really understand the industry from a holistic point of view. So I was an agent for a couple of years part-time, and I did lighting, and I did directing, and I produced actually my first live event, for the launch of Calvin Klein CK1 Fragrance in New Zealand when I was 21. And that was just given to me. And I was like, I can't do this. And everybody around me said, yes, you can. And I was like, oh my God. And I literally produced, cast, directed, and ran the entire event. And they were super happy with me. She was like, oh my God, you're amazing. You're like a unicorn. So, I guess from that perspective, understanding all the different areas have been super helpful with my business that I started about 7 years ago, where I work with speakers, communicators, on camera, on stage. I've even helped people get prepared for job interviews who are super nervous about going out into the workforce, or just maybe they're, C-suite of a company for 20 years and everything got reorganized and now they're out, being headhunted or whatever. So communication in general is pretty much, to me, just communication and presence, regardless of what your message is should be coming from the same place. So, and it's also how our brains work, neurologically and biologically, how we communicate. I've been studying that for sort of the last 5 years and combining that with the entertainment techniques and knowledge that I have with my clients so that they can be fully engaging and hopefully very memorable to their audiences.
So I want to ask you about your business, but I feel compelled to ask you about this description of you that I found on the internet.
Uh-oh.
I know. It's on the internet, so it has to be true.
Of course. Right? Oh, my God.
Okay. That you are a Sarah Palin-esque United States presidents in a 2012 film called Iron Sky.
Yes. Yes, and you know what? They just in July 19th, just last week, they released the the sequel movie to Iron Sky called The Coming Race. So yeah, I booked. It's kind of funny. Somebody said to me once, like, if there was one role you could play in your life as an actress, what would it be? And I said, well, I've been the president of the United States, so I guess the next one's God, right?
I just found that description epic, and in seeing the clips of it, I could see it. Yes, it was very Sarah Palin-esque.
Well, she wasn't supposed to be Sarah Palin, just for the record. Around the time when I booked that role, Tina Fey was doing all that amazing character stuff on Saturday Night Live of Sarah Palin, and I was terrified because I didn't want to be slaughtered in the press. And I said to the director, do I have to actually be Sarah Palin? Like, because Tina Fey, you should hire her. Like, I know the budget's not quite there, but, and he said, no, he said, we're making you look like Sarah Palin, but the character and the role, you can do whatever you want with. It's supposed to be a parody of presidents. And I was like, okay, cool. So I started studying the presidents, and I've actually had a couple of Hollywood writers come and message me privately on Facebook and say, it's interesting. You look like Sarah Palin, but you're acting like George Bush Jr. And I said, it's funny that you picked that up because that was who I modeled the character on physically. He was the funniest in the way he moved and stuff. So I took his mannerisms and his movement and added it to the character. So it's Sarah Palin acting like George Bush Jr.
No, that would have been a better description here on your actress webpage. That would have been a Sarah Palin-esque blended with George Bush Jr.
And it explains,
U.S. president.
It explains why she also has a Texas Southern type accent.
Yeah, fighting Nazis that hid themselves on the moon.
Yeah.
I mean, that would have been the ultimate description of that movie.
Yeah, it was. I think the executive producer explained it to me, how the one-line pitch is, when the Nazis lost the war in 1945, they moved to the dark side of the moon, and now in 2018, they're coming back to take over the world.
And when you heard that, you went, oh yeah, I'm in.
Well, you know what? I wasn't a big sci-fi fan until I actually was in the movie, and now I have to watch all kinds of things.
Yeah. So let's go on to your company. So you've done improv, which, by the way, in our industry is something we always tell folks, like if they're coming and they're trying to become a social engineer, they're trying to get into this industry and they're maybe nervous around people. And they say, what are some things I can do that will maybe make me better at this job? We say, hey, go take a local improv class. Something we always tell them to do because it gets them out of their comfort zone. So you did improv, you were actress, and you study communications, and you study the neuroscience. And how does that become a company?
Interestingly enough, I didn't set out that way. I went through a divorce, and I moved to the beach to lick my wounds, and I started writing, and I was teaching an acting class locally down here in San Clemente in Orange County, California. And I sort of was moving out of the whole Hollywood scene. I just sort of felt life was a bit superficial around me, and so I wanted to sort of shift gears. And I was teaching a local acting class in the theatre, and one of my students was a professor at Chapman University, and he said to me, have you ever considered taking this into the corporate world? And I went, don't be ridiculous. I was like, what do I know about the corporate world? And he goes, no, seriously, you don't need to know anything about the corporate world. They need to know these skills. And then literally there was an article written in the local newspaper about me being, the president of the United States in that movie and living locally. And the next thing I know, I had my first 2 clients. 2 people picked up the phone and called me and said, will you help me with this? One was a guy who had a tech company that was doing some video content and he wanted to get better on camera. And the other one was a criminal forensic psychologist who wanted to get more confident on the stand because she did a lot of that for her living. So that's where my company started. And I was like, hang on a minute, maybe I can do this. And then I chose to sort of I wanted to kind of go after more of the technology biotech community, and I knew that a lot of people in that those industries were, more science-based. So I felt that I really had to understand the science behind why entertainment techniques worked, and so that I could effectively communicate with them, so that they understood. Oh, I'm not just learning acting techniques or tools or humorous tools from comedy or whatever. I'm learning a set of tools that are essentially life skills, and how we communicate. And, there's a psychology term called stimulus value, and most people don't understand what their stimulus value is. And that's basically, how do you stimulate me? Therefore, how do I value your stimulation, i.e. how am I judging you based on how you show up? And when we understand that, it can actually turn miracles on how we essentially show up for other people. And, whatever messaging you're telling yourself on the inside is coming out on the outside, whether people acknowledge it or not. Maybe, not everybody's a social engineer and has that skill set to actually read behavior, but we read something and we connect to it, and quite often it can be negatively because we are connecting to whatever it is you're communicating to yourself first, but we don't necessarily know what that is. It's just like maybe you're having a bad day and you're in a bad mood or something, and instead of like reshifting your energy in your own messaging to yourself, you're sort of showing up to have this conversation or this meeting or this presentation with a group of people that, you haven't shifted gears. So you're still delivering that negative message. Does that make sense?
It does. It does. And, as you were talking about that, I was reflecting on how you and I met, because I met you at a medical conference that, I also was invited to go speak at, and I was thinking, what the heck am I doing here? And then quickly saw the connections to my world in that conference, thanks to Amir, and sat through your session and thinking, because I was fascinated, thinking, what is an improv person doing at this medical conference, and how is this going to tie in? And was so fascinated by it. So let me sit through this session, and fell in love instantly with all the crazy things you had us doing, and said, if I ever have my own conference, I got to invite her to come to do this, because this is amazing. This is just unbelievable stuff. And that's how we, you and I kind of got together, because I thought that was just a really interesting take on how to get people to think outside the box and dynamically use some of these skills in a different way that I haven't yet seen before elsewhere.
Yeah, and it's super interesting. Like UCLA did a study on, and it was in the Forbes magazine. That's where I found it several years ago. On what are the top things that we look for, the attributes or the traits in another human when communicating with them, and it was empathy, sincerity, and transparency. Which, interestingly enough, if you've got those three things going on for you, you're in a very vulnerable state, right? If you're being super transparent, empathetic, and sincere, and then you've got Brene Brown that talks about, vulnerability as a place of creativity and connection. And then there's also a study that I came across done by a neuroscientist by the name of Antonio Damasio, and he did a study where they found in people who had damage to the brain where emotions are generated, they couldn't actually make a decision. They could describe a decision in logical terms, but it was actually impossible for them to make even a simple choice. When you know that our decisions are actually 100% emotionally made, and then you look at how our brains work, because any form of communication, with regardless of which sensory it comes through, touch, sight, hearing, whatever, it has to travel through our limbic brain first. And our limbic brain, as you know, is our fight or flight brain that has an emotional reaction first, and then the message travels to the neocortex, which is the logical and reasonable brain. So if you're stimulating the limbic brain in a positive way, chances are a decision's going to be made in your favor. Does that make sense? And it's 100% biological.
Certainly does.
Yeah, so that's why it's super important that when we're preparing messages, we know why we're doing it, how we're doing it, and delivering it in such a way that's going to be beneficial not only to us but to our audience.
So how I want to frame this without making it sound like I'm trying to be malicious, but how do you use that?
How do you use that?
How do you use that knowledge? Yeah, let's just say it out. How do you use that knowledge when you're in a situation with another person without being malicious? How do you use that to someone's benefit in communications?
That's a really good question, and I think what it is ultimately at the end of the day, it's always about your audience. It's never about you. So it forces you to actually listen to them, and see where they. Where are they at? So when you start practicing that and getting really good at it, you can actually tell whether. I mean, this is a technique that I learned through stand up and have continued to work with it with training, and also when I'm speaking keynote. Is that the audience will always tell you where they are, what they like, what they don't like, if you're listening to them, and I think it's. And without being malicious, I mean, yes, you could probably use this skill set in a negative way if you really wanted to. But ultimately, you'd have to be a really exceptionally top-notch actor in order to get away with that. Does that make sense? And that's another reason why I won't work with politicians or criminal law.
You have your standards.
Yes, I have my standards. But when you, first of all, I mean, I work with my clients on their messaging to themselves. Where are they with themselves? Where is their confidence? What is the message that they want to get across, and how do we work through that? We figure out what the story is. We figure out what the data and the science is that has to be in there, or the facts that have to be in there. And then we wrap story around it, because our brains just are so incredibly stimulated by story. And story is where you can add in emotional content. And I work with my clients on delivering it, and not in an untruthful manner, not in an acting way. Because if you look at what actors do, really good actors are acting truthfully under an imaginary circumstance. So they've actually taught their bodies how to use their emotions as a skill set and tools. So when they take their body through real emotions, they are really having those emotions. And there's actually been some scientific studies done on how some actors who've been around very negative roles and negative emotions for a certain amount of time have got sick on a cellular level because of the negative emotions that they're constantly going through their body. But that's a whole different kettle of fish, and I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole with you. But I essentially work with my clients on how to use their emotions as tools and connect to their own truth and their own story, so they can deliver that message in an engaging and emotionally delivered way, but be truthful about it, and not and not just sort of like acting it out. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's powerful, because if you connect your emotions to your story or to your sales pitch or to whatever it is that you're helping them with, that will resonate. It may not resonate with everyone, but it will resonate with some people, and those that it resonates with will connect with your product or service, which will make them lifelong clients. I mean, in some sense, I feel like those people who I've been working with for 6, 7, 8, 9 years that stayed with me that long, it's because we have done just that, maybe not knowingly. We haven't had you here, but we've done that. And
we look for our tribe members. Yeah, we look for our tribe members. We look for people that we connect with or understand. I'm now certified. I'm a certified trainer for TTI Insights. So in DISC, which is behavioral assessments and how we do what we do and how we behave, and how we deal with problems and challenges. And I'm also certified in the 12 driving forces, which is our motivators, why we do what we do, what motivates us. And if we're not operating in our top 4 drivers, we're not happy and we won't function well. And we won't, so it's, and that in itself is all very helpful with engagement within teams, with companies, and, and I'm about to finish getting my certification for emotional intelligence, because I've been reading up a whole bunch of books on that, which is super fascinating in itself, because all scientific studies show us that it doesn't matter how high your IQ is, people with high EQs are actually more successful in life.
Yeah, are you going through Dr. Goldman's course, or is it another one you're going
No,
through?
it's through TTI, but I was reading Travis Bradbury and Jean Greaves' Emotional Intelligence 2.0.
Yeah, yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I was reading some of their content. That's a great bit of research all about emotional intelligence. That really could make a lot of change in a lot of people and the way that they work and communicate.
Well, it goes back to that top trait from that UCLA study for empathy. When we have emotional intelligence, we have empathy for others. And there was
Yep.
also a Berkeley study done that I want to throw in there on humor. And I consider humor our fourth top human trait that we connect to, because
Mm.
laughter is the most contagious biological behavior that we have, and neurological brain stuff that we have. So when people are laughing, we automatically start laughing with them, even if we don't know what they're laughing at. And everybody, doesn't matter what language, religion, country, wherever you're coming from, we all have laughter. And studies that they did on babies, because they were trying to figure out, is laughter something that we're taught? And it's not, because they went back to even blind, deaf babies that were only 2-3 months old before, and they didn't have good sensory, like touch sensory. Even they started laughing at the age of, because we start laughing around 2-3 months. And the power of laughter is such, oh my God, it's so incredible. I
Yeah.
could talk for 2 days on just how amazing laughter is for us. I mean, we release 10 phenomenal hormones in our body, oxytocin, serotonin, dopamine, endorphins being 4 of them, but there's a whole bunch that I can barely say but there's 10 that get released when we laugh. And it gives us such a high, and medically, it really can heal us in many ways. So we latch on to story and humor in a big way as human beings, and that effectively can be incredible with engaging with an audience, and very powerful, and messaging to them. Or even, there's a neuroscientist, Carmen Simon. She wrote a book called Impossible to Ignore, and she talks about the neuroscience behind how our brains work with just putting a presentation together, like a slide deck, and all the kinds of amazing things that our brain does with that too. So that's an interesting book if anybody wants to read it.
I'm not sure if it's the same study, but recently I was reading one too on laughter, and it made the comment about how just hearing or even remembering a baby laughing, like just kind of recall, like when you were saying it, I found myself smiling just thinking about recently I was on a plane and this mom had a baby. A baby was like 5, 6, 7 rows back. And somewhere in the middle of the flight, they were playing, and the baby just started laughing. And I just found myself laughing
Mm-hmm.
with this
Yep.
baby, laughing out loud. No clue what the heck was going on, but found myself like literally laughing with this baby for no
It's
reason.
fantastic, isn't it? Like
Oh, it
you just
is.
have,
It's
yeah.
completely
It's and
fascinating,
yeah, I'm a sort of
and I know what's happening, but I'm still there laughing with this baby, and everybody around me is laughing, and now we're all this one big tribe laughing with this stinking baby who, like, 5 minutes before was screaming its full head off, but we're all now the happiest group of people on this plane,
oh, that's so,
because of this baby laughing, and we're all enjoying ourselves because this laugh is literally the most infectious thing on the planet
that's
Earth.
fantastic. Actually, yeah,
Yeah.
I'm a certified laughter yoga trainer and leader, and I spent 2 years going down there.
That's an actual
It's an
thing.
actual.
I think you're just making stuff
No,
up
I'm
now.
not.
And he's like, I'm certified. Like you're just throwing stuff out there now. Come
No,
on.
no, no. Seriously, seriously. You can look it up. Laughter yoga. It was started by Dr. Kataria in Mumbai, India, in, I want to say, 1991. Um, he he was doing a thesis on laughter and the medical benefits of laughter, and he decided to start a laughter club, because in Mumbai, India, often in the morning lots of people go walking in the park, and he talked to several people into sort of joining, and they told jokes for about a week, and then at the end of the week some people were getting offended by the jokes and they were running out of jokes that were clean, and so he kind of he said, no, come back tomorrow. And his wife was a yoga instructor, and they talked about it in the evening. And she sort of said, well, what about coming up with some pranayama exercises? And so they basically created this community where you really just go and you laugh. And if you're ever out in Orange County, Jeffrey Breyer has the only laughter club in the world that meets every single day on Laguna Beach. And anyone can go, and it's free. You can just show up and laugh with them. And I often feel like when I'm down there and I go and visit, I'm like, oh, I'm one of those crazy people laughing on the beach. Had nothing. But it's phenomenal what an hour. I mean, the longest I've laughed with a group nonstop was like 10 and a half minutes. And my God, I was exhausted, but boy, was I high.
Oh, it is yeah, it is true. Like if you ever with your friends and you laugh for a few minutes straight, like the muscles in the back of your ears that pull your smile, like that hurts. Like it hurts. Like someone was like you're exercising the back of your head. Yeah, I'm with you.
I mean,
that's a lot of work.
You can actually shift your energy or your emotional state by sticking a pen or a pencil between your teeth, because what you do is you force the muscles in your face to be in a smile, and within about 20 seconds, serotonin will start to release into your body, and so it'll actually shift your mood chemically.
All these little life hacks.
Yeah, I got lots of them when it comes to laughter.
So let's talk about, without giving away the whole thing, the crowd listening here knows that we have this wonderful conference coming up February 20, 21, 22 of 2020 over here in Orlando, the SE Village, Orlando. And you are giving a workshop. So the caution, using influential communication seduces profound connection is the title of your workshop. Give us a little bit about it. Like why would people... I mean, I know why. But tell us why people need to come and sit through your workshop.
It's kind of interesting because after I did that workshop where we met, there was an article written, and they talked about a few different things that happened in that workshop. And one being the editor of the magazine who wrote the article mentioned that, he left my workshop with a tool set that normally he would not have used, but because he had just learnt it, he actually used it and then had an engaging conversation with somebody that he wouldn't normally have had that conversation with. So he said it shifted gears for him in a more positive and empathetic way for him to be able to communicate with other people. And I think I've never had anyone leave the workshop that didn't feel elevated in some way. Basically, even if you just want to have fun, you can come and you'll feel ecstatic and fantastic after you leave. That's one of the bonuses of the workshop, and you'll actually learn some very simple tools to open maybe difficult conversations in the future with other people, or start a business, or maybe around a meeting on a boardroom table that might be a difficult meeting to have, or you just want to get everybody on the same page before you even start the meeting. You'll learn some of those skill sets for communication, and you'll learn a little bit more about how the brain works and how to actually utilize the skill set engaging in conversation and communication with other people, whether that's one person or whether it's 100 people or whether it's on camera or on stage or just sitting in a meeting with someone.
That sounds awesome. So now how is that going to happen? Like give us a little bit about the setup. Are we doing role playing, or how are they going to learn these skills? Because you got maybe few hundred people sitting in your workshop during this time.
There's definitely going to be stand-up, move-around, interactive exercises. There will be some stuff where we partner off too, as long as I've got, even people in the room. But, if I don't, we can make a 3, or I'll jump in with a group. So there's definitely live, physical, verbal, creative exercises to do with other people. So when we learn something, and you probably understand this, there's a learning curve, right? You have to repeat things over and over again until we remember. And I think the new neuroscientist thing is the brain has to have 27 times for it to create a new pathway in the brain. So we're not going to be doing everything 27 times, but but we are going to be physicalizing it. So if you want to remember something, once again, it goes back to emotions. So we're going to be physicalizing and using things so that everything can be taken away and remembered, because it's going to be an emotional experience that you're going to have with me, not just I'm just standing up there talking at people. We're actually going to have fun and, do things that are going to connect to us 100% physically, mentally, emotionally, so that you can take these tools away and not forget them.
That's what I love. You see, that's the part that I think is really going to get people to want to just be real part of that, because it's for me, it's that's the part that I loved when we met down in Miami. I think it was the location, was because it was standing in this little circle with people and doing things that I thought, well, how is this going to even work, or why is this going to matter? And then at the end of it saying, wow, that wasn't just fun. I actually learned something about communicating with a group of people I literally just met. And it was fascinating to watch how all that interaction came about. And I thought this was really a great learning
It was amazing
experience.
how many people came up to me and just wanted to clarify some of the exercises and going, I've got this board meeting on Monday and I really want to start with this exercise.
Yeah.
Just go through it with me again. Because
yeah, you were definitely swamped after that, because I could tell everybody, because I think at first, at least in our small group, we were all like, okay, really, we're going to do this, and we're going to count, and we're going to do what? And we're tossing fake balls. What are we doing? What the heck? And then by the end of it, we're like, wait, this really actually worked. And somehow our brains are connecting these dots, and something is happening in this group.
And I actually like these people now, and before they were strangers.
Yes. And we were like laughing, as you said, laughing nonstop, to the point where I think our faces hurt by the end of that class. It was so much fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was definitely a wonderful experience. And just like what you said, if people want to have fun and tie all that into something physical where they can take a skill but practice it, not just listen to it being lectured. That workshop, I got 2 hours of being able to, a little over 2 hours of being able to really try these things out.
The exercises are simple enough that people can easily teach them to other people too, to take away and utilize.
Yeah. And where else can they spend time with a Sarah Palin-esque George Bush-like U.S. president that fought Nazis on the dark side of the moon, that now knows all about neuroscience and brain chemistry? I mean, it's one of a kind, really, if you think about it.
I love what I do. I just love it.
Yeah.
And I love peeling back the layers of the onion too, to find, what's the that's a new study. I like that. It's super fun. You can find me at my website, which is stephaniepaulinc.com.
Excellent.
I can't have stephaniepaul.com because someone's squatting on it and has been for about 18 years. Yeah, and I'm not paying them lots of money to get it. So
Don't you love when they do that?
So, stephaniePaulInc.com. And then pretty much if you throw my name into because of the acting background and stuff, into Google, most of the stuff comes up pretty quickly, like my LinkedIn. So I think my LinkedIn is Stephanie Paul Inc. My Instagram is Stephanie E. Paul. My Twitter is Stephanie Paul ZZ.
And all of that's on your website, from what I see here too.
Yeah,
so we'll make sure we link to all of that. And then one big question that we love to ask all of our podcast guests, which I did not prep you for this. So I know, everyone, this is well, actually, you kind of answered it already, so I think you're not going to have a problem with this. So, but our listeners are big readers, if you can believe that. And they love to read. And for the last 9+ years, we've been actually collecting a giant book, or a giant list of books that our podcast guests have recommended. And sometimes they have nothing to do with the content that we spoke about on the podcast. So if you want, I don't care how many, but usually we get 1, maybe 2 recommendations of a book that you read that you just loved.
I can give you hundreds.
Oh,
No.
we don't want hundreds. Like one or two is
Okay,
perfectly fine.
I'm going to give you #Values by Dr. Betty Uribe. And that book is endorsed by the Vatican and the White House.
Okay, but hashtag is it just a
No,
hashtag
it's just
or is
the
it spelled
hashtag.
out?
It's just like pound values, you know.
Yep.
And that's the secret to top-level performance in business and in life, basically by living through your values. And Dr. Betty in Uribe is about Uribe. Then I would go, I love Fierce Conversations by Susan Scott. That's one of my favorite books. And that's achieving success and work in life, one conversation at a time. So my workshop and that book will go nicely together.
Oh, so people can do some pre-reading before they come.
And what else? Is there anything that I can think of right now? Wow, you know, we've discussed the emotional intelligence one. Those two, you know, I started reading this one, but I haven't got all the way through it. And it's Power Up Your Brain, The Neuroscience of Enlightenment.
Power up your brain. Okay, I'm writing all three of those down.
Yeah, and that's by David Perlmutter and Alberto Villoldo. I can't say his name.
It's okay. I'm just gonna get their names from the Amazon and then from
that's
the
super cool because
Amazon,
it's a neuroscientist and an MD and a shaman that get together and talk about the power of the brain. So very super cool.
That is excellent. I'm going to put those three in our show notes. I am going to put your website in the show notes, and I may even link a couple of those YouTube clips to your Sarah Palin-esque.
Yeah, go right ahead. That's
And then I think, and I'll make sure we link right to your session there at SE Village. And we're really looking forward to getting together with you in February.
I'm super excited about it.
I am really excited about this conference, and just really amazed too at how I kind of went out there and just talked to 6-7 of these people that I really respected in their industries and asked them to put together an idea what they would speak about. And I didn't ask them to do it just like you. I didn't ask you to pick a particular direction, but all of you seem to go down a path, and all of your workshops have blended into a beautiful, succinct message. It's almost like it's planned, and it's not.
Super cool.
It is. It really is. Everyone has chosen to go down topics about communication and neuroscience and how to better communications and how to influence people for the betterment. And it's just really fits the mantra of what we have done and what we've been preaching and talking about for years. So I am just so excited to see this conference take off and see what people think about it. So it's only, well, what are we thinking? This will be July when this is released. So only like 7 months away.
I just want to remind your listeners, if they're going to do my workshop, they're going to need to bring their laughing tools.
They need to get those face muscles
so
strengthened.
Practice all the laughing all the way to my workshop.
Just get a YouTube video of a baby laughing and just listen to that for at least an hour a day, and you'll be fine.
I think if you Google Skype laughing, he's got he was denoted the funniest laugh in the world. Oh my God, he's
Oh, really?
You cannot, if you listen to him laughing on the Skype video, you cannot but laugh. Like, he is hysterical. He's hysterical.
Okay.
I'll find the link and I'll
it.
send it to you.
I'll have to try that. That sounds like a good exercise when you're feeling down too. Oh, thank you so much, Stephanie. This was an awesome conversation.
Fun. Thank you. Okay.
Yeah, great chatting with you. That was another amazing episode. Stephanie is really just a wonderful guest. Oh man, she's really amazing. Now listen, just as I promised, before we end, I'm going to put right here a little snippet, a little tiny interview for another workshop that we are going to have at SE Village. Little surprise, sneak peek for you. So why don't you just take a few minutes, listen to who it is, and then we'll conclude with a couple finishing comments. We are here with Robin Dreek, one of our workshop trainers for the SE Village in 2020. Robin, great to have you on the show.
Kris, it is great to be finally working with you again and sharing my content with your group and attendees. It'll be a lot of fun.
I am so excited, especially because, well, you had a huge life change just recently. So I don't know, maybe you want to say what happened?
I retired. Retired from my lifelong commitment with the government, and the FBI, and running my behavioral team, and able to finally do what you and I have been working on for a decade now, full time. So I'm excited.
So that must mean you're kicking your feet up, and you're totally relaxed and have nothing to do.
I would have thought so, but since you drafted me to do the most rewarding thing in my life, not just SE Village, but Innocent Lives Foundation, I've actually been busier than I was in my last 5 years.
And that is for sure. Yes, I was a board member of ILF. We've been abusing your good looks and your good nature by putting you on TV, and now you're a trainer for SE Village 2020, and you have your own company, People Formula. Yeah. So a little busier than one job, I guess.
Well, it's funny. I'm laughing at you say the good looks for ILF. No, actually, that's me in starvation mode with my wife and I trying to look as we get older.
Well, you know what? I have a secret for you. I mean, I think if you just put a big basket of carnival food in front of her, you can ruin the whole diet.
Funny you mention that. Yes, my son's home from Naval Academy right now, and we're trying to restrain carnival food around the house.
So, well, let's talk a little bit about People Formula first. So tell us, what is it that you created once you retired? What is your company all about?
So People Formula is something, as you know, we worked on it together years ago. I formed it back when I was still working with the FBI, but it's something that it's my full-time endeavor. And so what People Formula is, I do online training. So I got a virtual online training as well as, keynotes and speaking and live training. And it's about creating healthy relationships. Both inside companies, if you're looking for leadership training internally, as well as customer relations externally in sales. Because of all my time working with my behavioral team, my job was recruit, foreign, intelligence officers and foreign spies. And you can't do that unless you start forming healthy relationships and trust. And so it's just transitioning, that framing of how do you create a healthy, strong relationship from recruiting spies to, recruiting customers, or actually just recruiting people inside your own company to make your company a place where people want to work. So that's what I focus on.
Nice. And that seems to fit our conference. So February 2021 and 22 of 2020, that's a lot of 20s in there. We're holding the very first SE Village in Orlando, our separate conference. And we thought, man, who else to invite, of course, but our good buddy, friend, supporter, Robin Dreek. And you're running what appears to be, from the sign-up so far, a very popular workshop where you're going to be speaking about, let's see, what is it? The Code of Trust. Well, so the title of your book.
Well, we're moving from the Code of Trust because, life is a journey, not a destination. So the Code of Trust was the last one. But what's really exciting for this one, Kris, is I'm actually going to be speaking about my next book that's coming out literally a week before our conference, and that's Sizing People Up. And so this is 100% how do you assess behaviorally other individuals and reasonably predict what they're going to do. So we actually are going to have these 6 signs of trust I'm going to talk about, which is vesting, longevity, reliability, actions, language, and stability, and the 10 tells per sign that actually you can help individuals assess and predict other human beings' behavior. So that's what I'm going to be talking about at our workshop.
Oh my, that just sounds amazing. So when people walk away from the workshop, what can they expect to walk away with?
A lot more self-confidence and the ability to reasonably predict what individuals around them will be able to do, as well as be able to focus 100% of their effort on understanding individuals around them. Because really, yes, we're predicting behavior, but what's the really reason behind predicting behavior? Well, we're trying to create healthy relationships, because once we have healthy relationships and trust, that actually manufactures everything we're trying to do in life. And so these behavioral observations, we're going to help people understand both themselves, obviously, but also others equally as importantly, and with a lot of robust and a lot of great tools that they can apply.
Oh, that sounds amazing. So if you're interested in that, which of course, who would not be if you're a human and you want to be interested in that, head on over to sevillage.org, click on the register, scroll on down to Saturday Track 2, and just click on that little radio button next to Robin Dreek. Seats are limited. We have limited tracks. There's only 1,000 people that can sign up, and we're already filling up. And then Robin's track only has limited seats. So you definitely want to get in there before that is filled up. But if people want to interact with you before the conference, I know we're talking about this and it's just a month away, but you're going to be out there at DEF CON with us,
Yep.
being a judge at the SECTF, giving a keynote speech. You're going to be doing all sorts of stuff out at DEF CON. But if people want to interact with you, not at DEF CON and before the conference, how can they get a hold of you or follow you or find out what you're doing?
Sure. If you want to do what I call Death by Robin, where you have too much interact with me, and as a former FBI behavioral analysis program chief and all that stuff, go ahead and reach out for me through my website. It's peopleformula.com, all one word, peopleformula.com. Follow me on Twitter. It's at @rdreek, as well as LinkedIn, and I'm also an ILF board member. You can contact me through the website of ILF as well. Looking forward to all our interactions. Got a lot of exciting things coming up this year, Kris, and next, obviously.
Excellent. Robin, I really can't wait. I mean, we've been talking about this. This goes on a decade, man.
Yeah, 10 years, obviously.
This goes on a decade right now that you and I have been literally talking about what we can do to finally work together. And we've done little bits here and there with APSE and some training together and here on and off. But now finally, your retirement has brought it full force, and this is going to be an epic conference.
And what's more exciting for me too, Kris, is you and I have been working on this for a long time, but also my good friend Joe Navarro, who's also going to be with me. He introduced us, and he is a great friend of mine also. We work together on my behavioral team, and he's the one that trained me in nonverbals. And him and I we've been looking forward to working together as well. And so you're affording us that opportunity as well. And Dove Barron, I've interviewed on his podcast. I mean, you have got an amazing group of people coming in to do 100% deep dive in behavioral stuff. It's going to be epic, no doubt.
Yeah, that's true. Like, Joe is the reason why you and I even know each other.
Absolutely. Yeah.
That is I totally just slipped my mind. That is a really great connection.
Yeah, he's a great man and a great friend and a great mentor, no doubt.
Now, the three of us are going to be in a room together. That's going to be a little scary.
Scary, no doubt.
Yeah, that's going to be one fun dinner party. I got to say that.
Yes, it is. I think we're just going to be silent, just staring at each other.
Yeah. We should make it a game.
No doubt.
We should just sell tickets for that.
Yeah, no, actually, hey, that's a great idea.
Hey, thank you so much for coming on the show. Can't wait to hang out with you at DEF CON, man, and we'll talk more soon.
Absolutely, Kris. Thanks again for the invite, and I'm looking forward to our time together. It's going to be great fun.
Well, you know how to find us. You can find the conference at sevillage.org. You can locate the podcast framework and everything else social engineering at social-engineer.org. All of our corporate site at social-engineer.com. I'm Human Hacker on Twitter. Of course, the SE Village on Twitter and SOC Engineer Inc. on Twitter. If you're interested in that. And of course, on our website, you can find all the different social medias if you want to connect with us there. Continue to give us the feedback, folks. We love it. It helps us to continue making us better and more honed in. We look forward to continually whetting your appetite for this conference and giving you a little more of those workshop snippets until February. Next month, we'll be out at DEF CON and Black Hat. So if you're in Vegas, stop in SE Village and say hi. So until next month, see ya.